Alright guys, Gaijin just dropped something that I don't think a lot of people were expecting for the next major update, the Messerschmitt Bf 109 T2, also known as the carrier variant of the iconic 109. A navalized 109 is finally coming to War Thunder, and this is one of those vehicles that's super niche, kind of obscure, and has a really interesting story behind why it even existed in the first place. So today we're just gonna yap about it, not a review, not a guide because the plane isn't even in the game yet. Instead, let's talk about the history, why it's such a unique addition, and maybe speculate a little on how it might feel once it actually drops. So the Bf-109 is one of those aircraft that doesn't need an introduction. Everyone knows it as the workhorse of the Luftwaffe during World War II, with tons of different variants. But what makes the Bf-109 T2 so interesting is that it wasn't designed for the Luftwaffe's usual frontline airfields. It was made for a carrier. Yeah, believe it or not, Germany actually had a carrier project in World War II. The ship was called the Graf Zeppelin, and the T in the Bf-109T literally stands for Trager. I'm not sure if my pronunciation is right, but it's German for carrier.
Träger.
The whole idea was to take the proven Bf-109 design and tweak it so it could launch and land on a carrier deck, something it was never originally built to do. The modifications weren't super radical, but they were enough to make it stand out from the other 109s. The T2 got a longer wingspan to improve lift and handling at lower speeds, which makes sense because carrier takeoffs and landings are way shorter than normal airfields. It also had arrestor gear so it could actually hook onto the landing wires. The airframe was slightly beefed up as well since carrier landings are a lot rougher than regular ones. The funny part is the Graf Zeppelin never got finished. Germany started building it but abandoned the project partway through the war. So all those modifications for the Bf-109T ended up being kind of pointless in terms of actual carrier operations. But the planes didn't just get scrapped. Instead, they were handed over to regular Luftwaffe units and used from land bases, mostly in Norway. That's where the T2 ended up serving for most of its life. Now, here's why this plane feels like such a gem in War Thunder terms. When we think of the German tree, the 109 lines is already stacked from early E models all the way up to the late war K4s. So what makes the T2 worth paying attention to? Well, first off, it's a carrier fighter that never actually saw carrier use. That alone makes it a unique because you don't usually think of Germany as having any naval fighters, right? Japan, the US, Britain, sure, but Germany, not really. This means that Bf-109T2 stands out as kind of a what-if machine. Like what if the Graf Zeppelin had actually been completed and these planes flew off its deck? Second, it's just rare in history. Only a small number were built. We're talking maybe around 60 or so T variants in total, with the T2 being the refined production model. Compared that to the thousands of G and K series 109s out there, and you can see why people call this a hidden gem. It's one of those machines that's almost forgotten outside of really niche aviation circles. So seeing it pop up in War Thunder is a nice nod to aviation history. So let's talk about what the T2 actually was on paper, because again, we don't know exactly how it's going to feel in War Thunder until we get our hands on it. Performance-wise, the T2 was based around the Bf-109E7 airframe but modified. It had the DB601N engine, giving it about 1200 horsepower. The wingspan was stretched out to about 11 meters compared to the 9.9 meters on the standard E series. That's a decent jump and should mean slightly better lift and handling at lower speeds. In terms of armament, it wasn't carrying anything insane, just the usual 20mm cannons and 7.92mm MG machine guns. Basically your typical early 109 firepower, which is still more than enough for the BR range it'll probably sit in. The thing is, the longer wings and added gear made it a bit heavier. So it wasn't as nimble as the pure 109E, but it also meant it was more stable at lower speeds, which could actually translate into better handling in certain scenarios in game. That's what makes it so intriguing. So why should you even bother with this thing when the German trio already had so many 109s? Well, for one, it's about variety. The German tree can sometimes feel like 109 spam. You've got E's, F, G's, K's, but the T2 actually has a story that makes it different. It's not just another iteration of the same formula. This one was tied to a major German naval project that never came to be. which already makes it a conversation piece. Second, if you're a collector, this is a must-have. War Thunder thrives on these little oddities. The T-2 is one of those planes you can take out in a match and people will do a double take. For the people who love aviation aesthetics, that's already a win. At the end of the day, the Bf-109 T-2 is one of those planes that probably won't break the meta or change the game drastically. But it doesn't need to. Its value comes from being a historical curiosity. A glimpse at what might have been if Germany had actually pushed naval aviation further. I think most players, this is going to be one of those planes you pick up just because it's unique, fun to fly, and adds flavor to your lineup. And honestly, I love that Guardian keeps adding these sorts of vehicles. The ones that aren't just the big famous names but the weird side projects that give you more to learn about. So yeah, the Bf-109 D2 might not end up being the strongest 109 in the game, but as far as rare gems go, this one definitely earns its place. And when it finally drops, you already know we're gonna be taking it out for a spin and seeing if it lives up to the hype. But anyway, that's the Bf-109 D2. The navalized 109 that never actually saw a carrier. What do you guys think? Are you planning to grab it right away, or do you think it's just going to be another side grade in the German 3? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them as always, and of course, if you enjoyed this little yap session, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the full review when it actually drops in game. See you guys in the next one.